Right, I'm going to do something a bit different this time and try to actually live record my voice as I'm going through something, because the editing process at the end of these, I have to admit, is probably the main reason I haven't done a speaking video in a while. I hate editing and that whole process. It's really annoying. And I've realised that my levels aren't quite to the right level where whispering works. So, yeah. Okay, what I'm going to show people today is something that I feel really kind of needs to be talked about a bit on using the Sims rigs. So a lot of people are very hesitant to actually move the bones around, like, okay, so normally you would go about rotating the bones, see, left, right, left, right, left, right, or up, down, up, down, up, down. And that's fine until it creates problems like this, exactly this. Lots of clipping, it looks horrible here, it's not going to look any better in the game. And interestingly, if you've got the, I think it's the Parenthood pack, I'll probably put a little bit of text at the bottom because I've completely forgotten what the name of the pack is. But the one that, oh no, it wasn't a pack at all, beg your pardon. It was actually a update when they brought toddlers in. Does anybody remember or recall when parents knelt down in that pack, the bottom part of their legs clipped through the top part of their legs? And it's really, really annoying to me because I'm looking at it going, but you know, EA, it's your rig. It's quite a simple thing to fit. Well, it's simple. It's fixable, and yet they released this pack, and I don't think they fixed it yet at the time of recording this video. But it's really simple to fix. And simple, again, I used the word incorrectly. It's not simple, but it's fixable. So, to the more astute of you who I suppose have been looking at the screen while I've been rambling, you will see that this part of my Sim's leg looks a little bit different. So what I've done here is part of the fix for this problem. I realise I've got the dope sheet there in the corner. It's really not helping anything. I'm just going to get rid of the dope sheet for a second. Weak. There we go, it's much better. So this problem here is partially fixed here. I haven't fixed it completely yet because part of the fix relies on what I'm going to do to the thighs in a second. But if I hit the handy hotkey Alt and G, it will reset the local position of these bones and you'll be able to see what happens. Ready? And ta-da! See, if I just use the rotation tool, that is where the kneecaps would be. And I don't think you need me to tell you how awful that looks. Yeah, that's unpleasant on so many levels. So what I basically did to fix that was use the transform tool within reason to just adjust where the kneecaps are. I'm not going to get that as correct as I had initially. There we go. See, there's a little bit of deform here. That's unfortunately kind of down to the mesh of the rigs, or the mesh of the Sims, but I think we might be able to fix that in the next section. So yeah, there's a kind of quick recap there. Warning now, me recording the audio for this live as I'm actually doing the actions on the screen means that rambling is now going to be at an absolute all-time high. And you'll also be able to hear how many times I say or hesitate when I'm recording these, which I suppose goes some way to explain why they take me so long to edit. So yeah, recap. This is where your bones would normally be if you'd rotated them. See? So, normal leg, normal, not so good. And if we just use the positioning tool rather than rotation, we can adjust that to look more like a normal leg. I'm just going to put that back to the position there we go, position I initially had it in. we are. Just realised that this rig in the background kind of popped out of place there, but ignore it. In fact, I'll just fix that. Fix being the operative word there. Yeah, outtakes are going to be funny for this. Noink. Get over there. I will deal with you in a minute. Right. Back to this problem. Now, kneecaps, it's not too difficult because you're basically using the bones that will be visible to you as you open the rig. Now, thighs are a bit more difficult. Thighs require you to open up some of the hidden bones. That thing I promised to talk about ages ago, but didn't. Sorry about that. I got distracted. It happens a lot. So, there are several hidden bones within the rigs. You access these by going into your navigation tool over here, whose name escapes me. Outliner, that's it. Your outliner. So if you go into your outliner, and I've named my rigs to their character names to do with the comic that I'm doing. So this one, go into your rigs drop down section. So to do that, you just click the little plus on the left hand side next to the name of the rig. It will just be rig if this is a standard file. And you need to go down to pose. And now comes the wonderful, wonderful job of searching through each of these directories to find the right one. It's a little tedious, but it is so worth it because it means that problems like this don't need to be a problem anymore. So what we're looking for is a bone called thigh twist. So it works relatively logically, this drop-down system. So if you go, first two sections we've actually opened is B underscore root underscore, and then B underscore root underscore bind. There's a lot of underscores and all that. So those are your basic positioning bones for the rigs. Never, ever, 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 ever mess with the B underscore root bone. It's the bone that the game itself uses to position your character. If that bone is not in the center of your blender space here, it will completely muck up the positioning in game when you put your pose or your animation into the game. Quite a lot of people have asked me on Tumblr about why is something not working, and I go, where's your root bone? Did you click it? And it's often, to be honest, the problem that comes up the most. So, and B underscore root bind is just this one that sits right in the middle of the Sims mesh, and it's the one we use to move them around the world. Now under that you have two bones. You have spine 0 and pelvis. The way the logic, I suppose, in this list works is that you go from parent to child bone. So parent, child, parent, child, parent, child, parent, child. So the thigh twist bone, the one that we're looking for that is hidden, will be connected to the pelvis in, logically you go pelvis, thigh, knee, ankle, foot, even though the bones aren't called that. Bear with me, that's the skeletal logic of it. The thigh twist bone is a child bone of the main thigh bone. I'm resisting the temptation to break out into a nursery rhyme that we have over here about skeletons. More rambling. So, can you see in that little bit of clicking that I did over here, I went through pelvis, right thigh, and then right thigh twist, just here. And all I did to make it clickable to me is just press the little eye icon here. When they are not visible, they will be a little closed eye icon. You can see just on the one above it. Most of these bones are to do with how the game sort of runs collision mechanics and how the game attaches clothing to the basic meshes, and it's a lot of stuff like that. Most of them you never need to deal with unless you're going for a really, really complicated mod. For us animators or pose creators, the pool of them that we really need to be worried about is quite small. You've got the shoulder transformation bone, you've got elbow bone, and depending on where you downloaded your rig from, that might already be visible. And then you've got your thigh twist bone. You've also got 2 bones on the lower forearms, which can be used to adjust those parts of the mesh to kind of compensate for any deformation that happens. But today we are going to look at the thigh twist bone. So let me just make the left hand one visible as well. There we go. And I'm going to close all these drop downs because it looks messy. Okay. This is where I use the dope sheet to great effect to organise my workspace. Because through the dope sheet, let me just get that up again. That's that one. Yeah. You can select the different bones by literally just clicking on them on the list rather than having to go right click once and again to get the bone that you want. When you unlock hidden bones, they will appear if you follow my system of creating different colours for different rigs. They will come up in the default colour, which is that sort of pale pastel-y green. Just to fix this, just highlight the rig again and just click the assign button down here in the armature. Okay, let's get rid of the dope sheet again because we don't need that at the second. There we go. Okay, now let's have a look at what the thigh twist bone actually does. So I'm probably not going to explain my exact way of working this, but you should be able to see roughly what I'm doing and how this is useful. In fact, I hope some of you have just gone, what's happening? Because I have to admit, the first time you come across how useful these bones can be, it's a real, you know, as I think I've said before on Tumblr, real heavenly choir, like, oh my god, I didn't realise you could do this! This solves so many problems! Unlike the other bones though, it can be a little bit of tweak, adjust, does that work? Yes. Does it work? No. It's much more I suppose artistic, maybe? That might not be the right term. It's much more up for personal preference rather than any like, of course you'd move it this way, that's the way legs move sort of positioning. So for me, oh, something else that I did just then is when you're transforming the position of the bones, try and work symmetrically. I'm not doing that for this thigh twist bone here because I kind of just want to focus on the one at once, and when you're rotating it's quite difficult to get it to behave itself. But yeah, when I moved the 2 thigh bones there, I made sure to select both at the same time and then transform them. Otherwise you end up with one hell of a lopsided character. There are ways of fixing that within the game, but it saves a lot of, well, in Blender I mean, but it saves a lot of time spent later on if you just kind of pay attention to what you're doing at the time. Okay, so a little bit of clipping here is just bound to happen. Unfortunately, it's part of the nature of working with any 3D mesh. Asset creators have my greatest respect and admiration. It is not easy to design these meshes and then design how they deform with the bones. That's usually a rigger that does that. So I'm not criticising anybody about this sort of weird clipping issue that's happening here. It's just something that happens and we have to be big girls and boys and try and deal with it. That might not have made much sense, I realise, listening to that, but so yeah, no pressure. I've now got to make this look acceptable on camera, and try and not ramble too much. Okay, so just gonna roll that slightly, I think. That's better. Often, just as a general, I suppose, tip here, if you ever come across the point where you think, I have broken this rig or twisted this rig around so much it is now pretty much broken, don't panic. Try and think about what you've done. That sounds really mean, doesn't it? Think about what you've done. And work backwards. Think, okay, I did that, that didn't work, let's try something else. Never get into that horrible place where you think, I've broken it, it's all wrong, let's just start again. Most things are fixable, and if they're not, then, well, you can just hit the handy hotkey Alt-G or Alt-R, and it will reset the bones to their default position without you having to lose all your work. So I think that leg is probably just about where I want it for the end of this video. Let me just check something quickly. No, I'll leave that as is. Okay, so yeah, I mean, again, it's not perfect, but something to bear in mind is that all animation and all pose making is the illusion of reality. We're not going for photorealistic, or maybe some people are going for photorealistic, but personally speaking, photorealistic will stop you putting anything up online, and putting stuff up online is a wonderful joy to be doing. So yeah, I think we're probably just about there. So yeah, thank you for watching.